Now there's a couple of things you can do. For example, here what I'm doing is what I call the fire, water, fire changes, you know. Come up from the bottom, water come down from the top, fire. All right, and then here you kind of just right going into called the two-hand figure eight motion. I just added boom, boom. Now there's the up and the down. There's also the wave as you go up and down, up and down. See, within a sound, boom, there's that motion. Baker would bend the sounds, which is difficult. I mean, you know, there's what's called vibrato, but see, within the actual notes, the sounds, there's just movement. Okay. And it's not a vibrato, all right? Boom, 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 boom. Now, we're on that staircase, boom, jumping up and down, or whatever you want to do. Which is just simply this motion, it's both up and down, but it also, see, the motion here creates kind of a wave spiral within that motion. Okay, now for example here, that's a thrusting motion, but boom, there's a wave spiral in that motion. So just the form itself, after a while, gets kind of dead. And if you start to study the form, and you know, you're kind of somebody who's looking at the sheet music. I took one trumpet lesson once, and the guy said, "Okay, then we're going to have you do this, that, this, that, this, that, gave me scales and everything like that." And my response, I want to go back to high school band, so I never went back for a second lesson. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. So what I'd like you to do a little bit is just pick up the staff. Your basics, you know, this is a basic thrusting motion. You know, but so while you bend the sound, you bend the movement. And for me, what happens is, you know, there's kind of a continuum of flow. And then that continuum flow starts to kind of alternate between movement and stillness. Boom. Now, off of that, there's a little bit of that curl, that, see, this is the straight thrust, this is the spiral thrust. And the spiral thrust gets me off the line of an incoming, and boom, I make a connection out there. Boom. See the spiral in that thrust. That spiral doesn't come from your hands. The body. But the breathing. These are old movements of the spirit that Ueshiba Sensei, or founder for Aikido, he studied in great detail. So somebody coming to a taxi, you're not just getting off the line, you're following the movement of the spirit. And you know, the movement of the sphere, boom, that's a sharp point, right? But just from here, for example, my body's more square, which means that, you know, that I'm more vulnerable to an incoming. But boom, you can shift that way quickly. Or a movement that many, or Frank taught me, is relating to boxing. With the spirit point, you can rake up and then go that way. Boom, boom. Now, if somebody's wearing armor, that doesn't necessarily compute armor. But they're coming at you, boom, armpit. Okay, that can pierce the armor. There's a lot of the Aikido movements, unfortunately, really come out of a weapons history that's, I don't know, centuries and centuries old. And not everybody understands that entering motion. Okay, but right here, so I'm taking this note and I'm bending. Okay. Now from here, boom, we got that motion. We have this motion, which is up and down. But then, boom, boom, we're up and down. Instead of that, we're bending it. We're creating a spiral. Spiral, counter spiral. Spiral, counter spiral. Wave. Boom. All right. So those are just a couple of things, in terms of how it's a translated movement from sound and sound to movement. Okay. And this is boom, 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 boom. I'm playing a riff. Or conversely, I'm Stephen Curry, boom, 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 dribbling to traffic. Boom, 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 boom. Boom. Establishing a rhythm. Boom, establishing a rhythm, establishing. And then establishing, boom, boom, just counter rhythms with rhythm. Right. That helps me, that's what I do. Now I have to know the changes. Know the changes. I have to know the form. Okay, so for example, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. That's like sheet music. Okay. In my case, I generally tend to know the sheet music in one key. Okay. Now I can work and transpose, that's hard for me. But if you give me the chord structure and other things, I can improvise off of the chord structure. I have trouble, okay, taking a song. Okay, Chet Baker, for example, I mean, he wouldn't say what key do you want me to play it in. He said, give me a sound. Okay, and he played in that sound. He would understand, the melody. Okay, and he'd be able to improvise with it. Did he know the chord structure? Yeah, probably on some level, but it was not like a musical student. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Right? So, for example, we just did the 30 movements. Okay, now there are gradations of that. In other words, you're going to play a song like My Funny Valentine. Yeah, you sort of have to know the notes. You have to be able to space the things. Now, if I hear the chord structure, what I found, for example, is when I first started playing, I learned almost everything in terms of the songs by following him. In fact, initially I couldn't play a lot of notes, but I just played along with his vocals. And then later I got this crazy program where you could get the chord structure of the song, and you could put it into any key you wanted to, and it would adjust the chord structure. What I found was interesting was that I could follow the song, the head, whatever you call it. And then I had some of the tools to improvise off of that. And so, I'm kind of lazy anyway, but It's like, I don't want to know the chord structure at all. I just want to be in the moment playing. And I did this one piece I put online, and Art loved it. You know, Golden famous says, you know, now you're playing like Chet. He didn't follow the chords. If you follow the chords, you're following the form, which is good. That's a step. But most people never get past that. Now from here, boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, each of those moves is there. And we call that phrasing or whatever it is. It is what it is. This is really the fact that my breathing, my motion. Now you don't hear the sound, but there is within the motion, emotion. Entry, it was at the beginning of Enter the Dragon, you know, Bruce Lee is teaching a student, and he said, see your sidekick, right? The student goes like that. And Bruce Lee says, what was that? An exhibition. Again, with emotional, the student's pissed, and boom, he fires it off that way. And then Bruce Lee slaps him on the face and says, I said emotional content. No, and so right about it, boom, he kind of puts it out there. And he says, yes, what did it feel like? The student says, well, let me think. And then he slaps him in the face again and says, don't you feel? Okay, so, you know, there's an area of emotional content. Put your energy, put your soul behind it. And sometimes you wind up being so good at the outer accoutrements that we don't touch that. So that last one is something that I kind of, you know, okay, you put your soul behind it. Last night, Curry hit 2 threes in the last 2 minutes. So the Warriors, you know, they squandered it hugely. They were playing awful. Then they had to play catch up, and then the last 2 minutes, when he puts it in the air, space-time stopped for a bit, and then they go in. Boom. What does that create? If you're a fan, there's a lot of emotion there, but this one, like Chet Baker's long tones. Okay, not a long note, but there's a river of emotion in that. Okay. So let's just check. You know, we're moving along, believe it or not. Anybody? Hopefully you followed around along with some of that stuff. Anybody want to make a comment on it?
Just that the flow is similar to when you're like in the zone playing music.
Could you go over that one more time? Flow is similar.
When you're doing like, you know, movement with the staff, it's similar to playing music. If you're in the flow state, it's the same flow state.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, you may want to, you know, like Curry, for example. He played baseball. He played basketball. His father was a real good basketball player, but, you know, basketball fitted him more. But he was good at baseball. He went bowling once, you know, and before the evening was out, he was doing trick shots. Something with anything with round and movement, anything with a ball. He's a genius. I got to do this. I got to practice this for a while. He's a very talented golfer, not a professional level one, but if he decided I'm going to play on the PGA Tour. I'm sure he'd be okay. He could probably play at a professional level as a golfer. For me, more presence through the body. Let the mind come into order around that. And as something is touched, you might call it soul or spirit or whatever. Ultimately, spirit leads. Spirit leads. There's movement in spirit. The mind organizes that the body follows the mind. Body follows them, but it's in that one split instant. And a great artist like Chet Baker could do it through sound and music. Stephen Curry, I find them both almost identical. Was Baker the greatest trumpet player of all time? You could argue that. You said there's no greatest, because there's so many different gradations of trumpet. But, he's still teaching me, and he doesn't teach me just about music, but he teaches me about other things. And Curry, I watch Curry, and he's a teacher. Boom. He's got that one fluid motion, but he can disguise you with all those things. He can be very still and then alternate motion. So I find the two of them just like almost boom. Even though they're in different lineages or even almost different universes. But whether you're going to play or you're going to swing the sword or you're going to move with the staff spear, for me, it starts with being more present through the body. If I get too up here, I'm too scattered. Or conversely, I'm up here, I'm too ordered. Baker said something, he wrote an incomplete autobiography, but he was talking about this one bass player and how the bass player seemed to always hit everything like a machine. And you would think, that's good, but Baker said, I didn't think it was even possible. Because you want to follow establishing the rhythm of the song. Drummer but the bass player is establishing the rhythm, right? Now, Art Frank, for example, when he plays the drums, he's playing music. Okay, I've listened to him. I've actually tried to play with him, and just stuff like that. But it's more than anything else. It's amazing that when he plays the drums, he's playing music. He's not just playing rhythm. But the bass player is part of the, you would say the rhythm of the. In fact, Baker, from what I understand, after a while he would sometimes play trio. And he would eliminate the drummer because he thought the drummer, but Art was his favorite drummer because the way that Baker put it, he always seems to know where I'm going because they're coming from a very similar place. There was a connection which I would call soul to soul, which is way past anything. When I first saw a picture of West Shibuya Sensei, something moved me in here. So I started studying Aikido when Aikido became available. When I heard Chet Baker play, I couldn't describe it, but it was like soul to soul. I wish I could play as well as him, but there are other lessons for me, but I still play. And you have Stephen Curry. The Warriors in basketball have always been really important to me. And if I was to go into and create through my imagination a player, I couldn't have done a better job than him. Okay, so there's something about a soul to soul. Okay, And, I mean, I remember one time the docent was kind of complaining to me. We were walking, talk too much about basketball, which I do, so unfortunately. Okay, or music or whatever. And so I'm walking by and have a warrior jacket on. And just as the docent says that, there's a guy right watching his back, and he looks at me and says, "Hi, Steph." And I go, and he says, "How are you doing?" I said, "Hi, I'm cool." Well, we walked into the coffee shop. And one time I'm at Target, and I'm wearing a warrior t-shirt. Okay, and so there's an African American couple, and I bump into him, and the woman says, "He looks like Steph." I go, "No, I don't. I really don't. There's no discernible." But sometimes, when you have a soul-to-soul connection with somebody, and I don't ever expect to meet them, and if I meet them, I'm gonna say, "We're soul brothers, Steph." Absolutely not. But that when you have that sort of connection, in Japanese, on nani nani dare to enga aru, which Mary Haney Sensei taught me, you have a faded connection, soul to soul, with that person. Where Shibo Sensei had a soul to soul connection with Deguchi Sensei from Yamamoto Kyo. He recognized talent and got a lot from Takeda Sensei, but under no circumstances would I say that he had a soul-to-soul connection with Takeda, like he did with Deguchi. And so sometimes you learn through the vibrations, the breathing, and that produces motion, or music, it produces emotion. If music doesn't produce emotion in you, it's just skillful noise. Sometimes we go to my daughter's, and sometimes Nora puts on and we dance together. That's cool. I'm moving to something, not my favorite type of move, but then again, we just kind of, and she's very good, okay? Anyway, this, I'm going to switch, so if you want to. Okay. A little different than the spear staff. No. Basics, I'm raising up to the third eye. Not doing this. I'm cutting, boom. Okay. I do this because it's a really good gateway for me between kind of the awareness knowledge realm and the feel experience realm. Music, ideally, is all feel experience. But Curry can do out there, there's knowledge involved, but there's a play of the moment adjustments you make. Okay? And he's in the feel experience of himself within the feel experience of the game. So right about here. And I know everything, and it's out there, and I can do it faster out there. Okay. And if we go back to music, let's say that there's a string with a vibrational frequency. There's something in me that starts to hit that note. It gets that that string to vibrate. And of course, there's this physical movement. You go here, boom. I raise, right? You see how it's a downhill slope, boom. But I can be out there and I'm hitting the note, but I'm not causing the string to vibrate from in here. And you can go out there and you can, but there's that. Okay. And a couple of things I want to point out. I can do the whole thing and being in the awareness of it and get better through that. But for me, the being more present through the body, right? Boom. That's the best I can do at the moment, feel, experience of that. I talk about it, I start to drift a bit, so it's my presence through the body gets better. The feel experience, the vibration that's in here connects to the string or the air column out there. Now here we're doing boom. Okay. So we're at 1 o'clock. We could do more, but anybody comment on anything about that? Because we did a lot of that Wednesday in Mountain View. Anything?
Yeah, a couple things.
Okay.
One, I tried to, you gave me a lot of pointers on Wednesday, and I tried to implement as many of them as I could remember.
Okay.
So I think that I'm somewhat successful at that, and that my swinging is improved. The other is, of course, since I didn't bring my weapons Wednesday, I was worried about the rain that never materialized. Working with my boken is so much better. It's like I have Stormbringer back, it works. I've had this boken for 35 years, so it's an old friend. And because I'm alone in the house at the moment, Debbie and the kids are all not present in the building, I tried a couple of key eyes, and that was interesting. To sort of integrate the sound with the motion. It was almost as if the sword cuts didn't happen. Like I hardly felt them. I felt the sound and the sword cut, and that was that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it would have looked like to an observer, but my internal sense of it was the sound was what I focused on, and the cut was just this sort of side effect.
Well, just my sense of things, right? I'm going to make a sound. The sound's out there. But before the sound, boom, there's movement. That movement is tied to a breath. And vibrato. So the actual cut, boom, is based upon. Well, since they traced everything back to the creation of the universe, 1, 4, 3, 8. There was something. You can give it a name, spirit, whatever. He loved the Bible, for in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was. Okay? What was the Word? And then that one thing really had to kind of split. There's a blueprint for the universe mind. Materials, matter, energy, body. But just to be fair, he didn't go 1, 2, he went 1, 4, because within mind, there is body, within body, there is mind. So he went 1, 4, 3. 3. Obvious realm, kind of dense and thick. That initial reverberation here is very, very distant. There's the hidden realm, the realm of ki. Okay? Within that, you can just keep going finer to finer, or you start to go finer to more original. You're going back towards the 1. You're wearing the many here. There's too much going on here. We'll all come out of a 1. And that's what he called the divine realm. So the hidden realm might be the realm of ki, one way of phrasing it. The divine realm is the realm of ki no myo yo, which translates not just as ki, but the miraculous, magical, or subtle uses of ki. And the divine realm, he said, is in here. Okay, and for example, the ki. Establishing kind of an up down, establishing kind of you're even though the divine realm is in here, you have a pantheon around you. Hey! Now, that ki ideally is a reflection of that original. Okay. If you want to practice sounds, there's a Su chant, but there's also ya, yi, yu, ye, yo, ma, mi, mu, me, mo. Ya, yi, yu, ye, yo, ma, mi, mu, me, mo. For me, That's the archetype of the circle to the center. Mommy, mama. That's the archetype of the center to the circle. And, you know, that's a more basic chant. You can do the Su chant. But Zinado Sensei, for example, is the exact opposite. For him, the Ya-Yi is the center to the circle. And the Ma-Mi is the circle to the center. So we say, oh my God, but that's okay. See, I'm much more of a circle to center person. He's much more of a center to circle person. Ultimately, what you do, yeah, mommy, mama, mommy, mama, yeah. It doesn't matter if you start out center to circle or circle center, they start to rebeat on each other. Okay, that's a bit more advanced. And what happens right there is all of a sudden, you know, you kind of unify with some level of what we might call spirit or ki. Okay. And Sensei was different. He wasn't ki. He was ki no myo myo. And for me, what does that mean? He captured my imagination through a soul-to-soul connection and set me on an adventure. Chet Baker, the same thing. Just heard him, mainly it was his vocal to start with. Could feel the soul-to-soul somehow. Why? Captured my imagination, set me on an adventure. Stephen Curry, here I am, 70 years old, dribbling a ball in the Y for the pandemic, practicing three-point shots and ball handling. Same thing, soul to soul. Captured my imagination, set me out on an adventure, a lineage, a path. Okay? But for me, they all intersect through more presence through the body, going from the awareness, which is out there, to more the feel experience. Anybody, before we go, anybody, anything to add to that? That's just kind of my own process. The music actually is something that, I could be in a horrible mood. I should remember to pick the horn up because, it gets me closer to my core beingness, okay? Because it works, again, the breath, sound, motion, but mainly emotion, motion as emotion. Okay, anybody, before we go? I will send out the link to everybody today. I should have done it yesterday, but I forgot. I sent out the notice for today. But 6:30 tonight, Zoom class, Mountain View Dojo, so we'll have a dojo format. Harry Concepcion Sensei, Lauren Harris Sensei, and myself. Movement and Aikido is the overriding theme that those Sensei gave us tonight. Lauren wants to explore breath and Aikido. Okay? Okay, thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you, Sensei.